Sexual harassment in the workplace. By definition, it is an unwelcome verbal, visual, or physical conduct of a sexual nature that is severe or pervasive and affects working conditions or create a hostile work environment. There are different types of sexual harassment. There is of sexual nature and of non-sexual nature. Of sexual nature includes verbal or written, physical, and non-verbal and visual. Verbal or written conduct, there are comments about clothing, personal behavior, or your body, sexual or sex-based jokes, requesting sexual favors or repeatedly asking you out, sexual innuendos, telling rumors about your personal or sexual life, and also threatening you. Physical conduct, they are a rape or assault, impeding or blocking your movement, inappropriate touching of your body or clothing, kissing, hugging, patting, and stroking. Nonverbal type. This includes unwelcome gestures with sexual overtones like winking, staring, licking, blowing kisses, etc. Unwelcome materials and notes of a sexual nature left in the workplace. Visuals. It can be posters, drawings, pictures, screensavers, or emails of sexual nature. Unwelcome materials and notes of a sexual nature left in the workplace. Of non-sexual nature conduct may also be sexual harassment if you are harassed because you are female rather than male or because you're male rather than female. For example, it may be sexual harassment if you are a woman working as a carpenter on an all-male job and you are the only one whose tools are frequently hidden by your male co-workers. The federal law. The federal law prohibiting sexual harassment in the workplace is Title 7 of the 1964 Civil Rights Act. The law makes certain employers responsible for preventing and stopping sexual harassment that occurs on the job. Title 7 applies to private and most public employers, labor organizations, employment agency, and joint employer unions, apprenticeship programs with 15 or more employees. Title 7 makes employers liable to prevent and stop sexual harassment of employees. Under Title 7, cover employee must 1. Take responsible care to prevent sexual harassment. 2. Take reasonable care to promptly correct sexual harassment that has occurred. There are no specific action an employer must take to satisfy the requirement that it take reasonable care to prevent or stop sexual harassment. An employer may satisfy the requirement of reasonable care to prevent sexual harassment by having and distributing to employees a policy prohibiting sexual harassment and informing employees how to make a complaint. However, if an employer has a policy but does not enforce it, or if an employer fails to investigate sexual harassment complaints, investigate other complaints of misconduct, then the employer may not be taking reasonable care. However, before an employer can be legally responsible for taking reasonable care to correct sexual harassment, the employer must be aware that the harassment has occurred. For this reason, it is important to follow your company's internal grievance procedures, if they exist, or to otherwise notify your superior if you are experiencing harassment. It is sometimes hard to report harassment because you might feel embarrassed or think that it was your fault, even though it is not. Reporting sexual harassment to your employer is important. It may stop the behavior and it makes your employer responsible for stopping the behavior. What can you do? The most important and the first thing that it can be done are to report sexual harassment. Tell no clearly. It is essential to say a clear and strong no to a person who is molesting you. For that person that is molesting you to understand that you are confident and strong, and that you are not going to let nothing bad happen. Write everything. It is also vital. Write everything when the harassment has been made. Write dates, times, witnesses, places, and words that the aggressor said. Also write a description of how it happened. When reporting a sexual harassment, always write it because that way it can be filed and it is safe. And another important thing to do if you want to is to file a lawsuit. File a lawsuit after you file a formal complaint with the EEOC or your state fair employment agency. You can sue for money damages to get your job back, and you can also ask the court to make your employer change its practices to prevent future sexual harassment from occurring. If you've worked for a private employer in certain states, including California, you have the right to request and receive copies of everything in your file that you have been signed. You want to file a lawsuit in federal or state court. I present a link to a video about teen sexual harassment at work. There is a girl, her name is Ali Tomlin. She was 17 years old and she wanted a job. So she speaks with a friend, and the friend told her that she worked at the company that makes juices and smoothies called Jamba Juice, and invites her to work in there. Ali took the job, and it was her first job, and she really wanted to work there. But there was the manager who interacted very close to her and to other employees as well, but everyone else didn't think his behavior was inappropriate, but Ali did. She didn't say anything about it. But the manager started to make inappropriate comments about Ali's bra size and her weight. She started to touch her by grabbing her arm and pulling it towards him. He also showed a picture of his wife wearing a thong. She didn't tell her mom or dad because she knew that if she told them, they would force her to quit, and Ali didn't want that. So she stayed at Jamba Juice for 5 months, trying to voice the best she could to the manager of the store. The manager was 32 years old, almost as twice as Ali's age. One day, Ali was on the back of the store counting money, and suddenly the manager walks behind her and tells Ali, "Want to see something funny?" So he ripped Ali's t-shirt off, and everybody started laughing, and she started crying. Then she goes home, tell her mother what happened, and then the mother make her quit. The feeling of the mother was anger. She was very angry about the situation. Later, the assistant manager finds out what happened between the manager and Ali. The assistant manager calls Ali and tells her that the manager's conduct is violating the sexual harassment policy of the store and that he will get fired. But the manager didn't get fired, so Ali and her mom filed a lawsuit, and Ali received $85,000. Jamba Juice, of course, fired the manager. There are hundreds of thousands of things that are sexual assault at work. Based on a study, about 400,000 teenagers are sexually harassed at work every year.